Meet my fiancé. Ooh, why are you looking at hugging him like that?
The day my life fell apart, I was wearing my favorite white dress. I remember that detail because it is the kind of thing your mind holds on to when everything else is breaking. Small, useless facts that sit in your memory like splinters you cannot pull out. White dress, gold earrings, the smell of Indomie noodles from the flat next door, the sound of Aphrodite playing from somewhere down the street in our estate in Lagos. My name is Sophia, and this is the story of the most painful and the most powerful season of my life. Bibi and I had been best friends since our first year at the University of Lagos. We met during a chaos of a registration queue, both of us sweating in the afternoon heat, both of us holding the wrong forms. We laughed about it, we went to the admin office together, we exchanged numbers. And from that day, she became the person I called first for everything: good news, bad news, 2 a.m. tears, and Sunday afternoon jollof rice. We graduated together, moved to Lagos Island together, hustled together. When I got my job at the marketing firm, Bibi celebrated louder than my own mother. When her relationship with her ex collapsed, I sat on her kitchen floor with her at midnight and held her while she cried. We were sisters, not by blood but by choice, which in many ways is the deeper bond. Then I met Toby. Toby came into my life the way good things sometimes come, quietly, without announcement. He was a friend of a colleague, present at an office birthday dinner I almost did not attend. He was not the loudest man in the room. He was not trying to impress anyone. He sat at the end of the table, eating his pepper soup and laughing genuinely, and something in my chest said, "That one." We dated for 11 months before he proposed. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet evening on the rooftop of the restaurant where we had our first proper date. A simple ring and the most honest words a man had ever said to me. "Sophia, I do not have the most money right now, but I have the most respect for you, and I am asking you to build with me." I said yes before he finished the sentence. Of course I told Bibi first. She screamed so loud on the phone that my neighbor knocked on my wall. "I need to meet him properly," she said. "When? This weekend? I will cook. I will wear something nice. Sophia, God has done it for you." Her excitement was so warm, so loud, so full that I felt guilty I had not introduced them sooner. So I planned a Sunday afternoon at my flat. Jollof rice, pepper chicken, chilled drinks. I cleaned the house. I wore my white dress. I was happy in a way that felt too big for my body. Toby arrived at 1 p.m. Bibi arrived at 1:15 p.m. in a yellow off-shoulder top and tight jeans, her hair freshly done, her perfume announcing her before she walked through the door. I introduced them. I watched them shake hands. I watched Toby smile politely, the way he smiles at everyone. I watched Bibi smile back, and then I went to the kitchen to plate the food. I was gone for maybe 7 minutes. 7 minutes. When I came back, they were already deep in conversation about a music show they had both apparently attended months earlier. The laughter between them was the easy laughter of people who have found an unexpected connection. Something shifted in my stomach, quietly, the way a stone shifts at the bottom of a river. You cannot see it, but the water above changes direction. I sat down. I smiled. I served the food. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid and small-minded, and that a confident woman does not shake because her best friend is charming. I ate my food and laughed and played the happy host. But that quiet shift in my stomach, it never settled back into place.
Before we continue, if you love real, deep Nigerian stories that hit where it hurts and where it heals, subscribe to this channel right now and turn on the notification bell. You do not want to miss what happens next. The changes in Toby were not dramatic at first. They were small. The kind of small that a woman who is not paying attention would miss entirely. But I have always been a woman who pays attention. It is both my gift and my burden. His phone started going face down on the table when I visited. He started picking calls in the bathroom. He became slightly distracted during our dinners. Not rude, not unkind, just somewhere else, like a man whose mind had a second window open. I noticed all of it, and I filed it away. I did not react. I watched. Then one Friday evening, I called Bibi to talk about something completely unrelated, a work problem I was having with a difficult client. She did not pick. I called again, nothing. I sent a voice note. She replied 2 hours later with a short text. Was in the middle of something. Will call tomorrow. She did not call the next day. Bibi, who had never gone 24 hours without calling me in 5 years, did not call. I called her. She was breezy and slightly distracted and cut the call short after 10 minutes, saying she had somewhere to be. I put my phone down and sat in my flat with the silence pressing against my ears. That weekend, I went to visit my older sister, Mrs. Tina, Toby's colleague's wife, and one of the sharpest women I know. Mrs. Tina is 41, has seen things, and has a radar for nonsense that no piece of technology can compete with. I did not go to tell her what was happening. I went just to be around someone solid. But she looked at me the moment I walked through her front door and said, "Sophia, what is wrong with you? You look like someone who has been swallowing something." I sat down on her sofa, and before I could stop myself, everything came out. She listened without interrupting. Mrs. Tina never interrupts. She just watches you with those eyes that make you feel like she is reading text that is written somewhere behind your face. When she finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "When you introduced this Bibi to Toby, what was she wearing?" I blinked. A yellow top. Was her hair done? Yes. Was she wearing perfume? I paused. Yes, a lot of it actually. Mrs. Tina nodded slowly, the way someone nods when information has confirmed what they already suspected. "Sophia," she said carefully, "a woman who is going to meet her best friend's fiancé for a casual Sunday lunch does not do a full hair appointment and drown herself in perfume. That is not how we dress for our sisters. That is how we dress for an audience." The words landed in my chest like a stone dropping into still water. Slow, heavy, spreading outward. "You think," I started. "I am not saying anything," Mrs. Tina said. "I am saying watch, quietly. Do not confront, do not accuse, do not let either of them know you are watching. Just watch." I drove home that evening and I replayed every interaction since that Sunday in my mind. Every detail I had smoothed over, every instinct I had silenced. And then I opened my Instagram, not Bibi's, not Toby's, but a food blogger we both followed. And I found it. A story post from a restaurant on the island. A wide shot of a Sunday brunch, people in the background, nice lighting. In the far right corner of the picture, slightly blurred but completely recognizable, a yellow off-shoulder top, and a man in the burgundy shirt Toby had been wearing last Sunday when he said he was going to see his friend Fred. My hands went completely cold. I screenshot it. I closed the app. I set my phone down on the table and I sat there in my white dress, the same white dress I had not even changed, and I breathed. In, out. In, out. And then I made a decision that would change everything. I would not cry. Not yet. I would get every single piece of evidence first, so that when the confrontation came, it would be airtight and they would have nowhere to run.
I became a different kind of quiet after that. Not the quiet of a broken woman, the quiet of a focused one. I started doing things I never thought I would do.
I created a fake Instagram account and I followed Toby. Nothing. His page was private and sparse. I followed Bibi's close contacts, the peripheral people in her circle that I knew but was not deeply connected to. I watched. I listened between lines when people talked. And then Fred told me everything. Not intentionally, not even knowing he was telling me anything. Fred is Toby's closest friend, a funny, oversharing, good-hearted man who absolutely cannot keep information inside his body for more than 48 hours. Toby loves him dearly, precisely because Fred is loyal, just not silent. Fred called me on a Wednesday to ask if Toby and I were having problems. "Why are you asking?" I said carefully. "It's just," Fred hesitated, "there's this girl that has been calling him. Toby told me she's your friend and that it's nothing serious, that she just needed his advice about something. But Sophia, I've seen the way he talks after those calls. That's not how a man talks after a call about nothing." I kept my voice completely steady. "What is her name, Fred?" Silence. "Fred?" He called her B. I closed my eyes. "Thank you, Fred," I said. "Oh, Sophia, I don't want to cause..." "You didn't cause anything. You just confirmed something. Thank you." I ended the call. And now I had the full picture. Bibi had gotten Toby's number from my phone. She had used mine to call her network provider one evening at my flat, months before I even introduced them officially. She had called him days after that Sunday lunch and introduced herself as someone concerned about my emotional health, telling him I had been experiencing serious anxiety and that he needed to understand some things about me before he committed further. She had used my name as a door. She had walked through it and locked it behind her. What broke me was not just the betrayal. It was the architecture of it, the planning, the patience, the way she had sat across from me hundreds of times at my dining table, in my car, on video calls, while building something designed to hollow out my life. This was not a moment of weakness. This was a project. I drove to Bibi's apartment on a Thursday evening without calling ahead. I had the screenshot. I had Fred's words still fresh. I had 11 months of small overlooked details arranged in my mind like evidence on a table. She opened the door in a house robe, surprised. I walked in without being invited and I sat down. She sat across from me and I placed my phone on the table between us with the restaurant photo on the screen. The room went very, very quiet. Bibi looked at the photo, then she looked at me. And I saw her, the real her, the calculating her, doing a rapid, silent calculation, deciding how much to admit, deciding which version of sorry might work. "Sophia," she startled. "Do not," I said, my voice was even, "do not perform for me. I have known you for 5 years. I know what your real face looks like, and I know what your performance face looks like. Right now, I need the real one." She looked at me for a long time, and then she dropped the performance. She told me she had always felt like she was standing in my shadow, that I got the better job, the better relationship, the better life, and that sitting next to me always made her feel invisible. She said she did not plan it from the beginning, but when she met Toby and felt how he looked at her during that first conversation, she told herself she deserved it too. That for once, she should take the thing instead of watching me have it. She said it almost calmly, like she was reading a report. I stood up. I picked up my phone. I said quietly, "You just told me that you destroyed 5 years of sisterhood because you felt invisible next to me. And you chose this. You chose to take instead of build." She opened her mouth. "Bibi," I stopped her, "I hope it is worth it. I genuinely do. Because I promise you, I am done with you. Not in a dramatic way, just done. Completely and finally done." I walked out.
I drove home, and then I sat in my car in my parking lot and I cried, properly, deeply, from a place below my stomach for the first time since this whole thing began. I cried for the friendship. I cried for the version of myself that trusted so completely. I cried for the Sunday afternoons and the midnight phone calls and the 5 years of what I thought was sisterhood. When the crying stopped, I sat up. I wiped my face and I thought about what came next. Not about them, about me.
Mrs. Tina called me the morning after my confrontation with Bibi. I do not know how she knew. Maybe Fred had spoken to her husband, maybe the Lagos grapevine had already started moving. But she called me at 7 in the morning and the first thing she said was, "You cried last night. Good. Now we talk about the next move." I almost laughed. Almost. I went to her house that Saturday. She made me tea, the kind with ginger and lemon that she always says is for people who need their mind cleared. We sat in her living room with the windows open and the morning Lagos air coming through. And she said something that I wrote down in my notes app immediately. "Sophia, people like Bibi operate on one assumption, that your happiness depends on the same resources they are competing for. Toby, social status, being seen. What she does not know is that a woman who decides to compete with you on a different level entirely becomes impossible to defeat." She leaned forward. "Your pain is capital. What are you going to build with it?" I had been working at my marketing firm for 3 years. I was good at my job, genuinely good. But for 2 years, I had been sitting on a business idea that I kept postponing because I was comfortable, and comfortable is the enemy of extraordinary. I had the skills to run a full social media and digital branding agency. I had the contacts. I had the knowledge. What I had been missing was the fire. The betrayal gave me the fire. I resigned from my job on a Monday morning 6 weeks after my confrontation with Bibi. My boss thought I was reacting emotionally to personal stress. I smiled and thanked him for everything. I walked out of that office building with my box of personal items and my heart rate was completely steady. I registered my business. I called it Luminary Creatives. Mrs. Tina became my first client. She connected me to 3 others in her network. I worked from my flat, then from a shared workspace in Victoria Island. I slept 4 hours some nights. I ate badly for a period. I had moments at 2 in the morning where I sat on my kitchen floor and wondered if I had made a catastrophic mistake. But I kept going. I kept going because the alternative was to make Bibi's decision about me the final word on my story. And I refused. I absolutely refused to let the worst thing someone had done to me become the ceiling of my life. Within 2 months, Luminary Creatives had 5 paying clients. Within 3 months, we had landed a campaign for a fashion brand that got picked up on Twitter and earned over 400,000 impressions in a week. I still was not posting about the business publicly. I was building in silence. Heads down, focused, rooted. But Lagos talks. Lagos always talks. And the news reached Bibi through the networks we used to share. I know it reached her because she sent me a message. Not an apology. Bibi was never truly the apologizing kind. She sent a message that said, "Sophia, I heard about your agency. Congratulations. You always had it in you." I read it. I did not reply. Then Toby reached out. He called me, not texted, which told me he wanted to hear my voice, wanted a real conversation. I almost did not pick up. Then I decided I would because I was no longer afraid of that conversation. Fear had left my body weeks ago. "Sophia," he said, "can we meet?" "Why, Toby?" Silence. Then, "Because I made the worst decision of my life and I think you deserve to hear me say it to your face." I agreed to meet him, not because I wanted him back, not even close, but because I am a person who believes in closing chapters cleanly, and that conversation deserved a proper ending. We met at the same restaurant where he had proposed. He looked like a man who had not been sleeping well. He told me Bibi had ended things 2 months in,
she had met someone with more financial promise and had moved on with the same casual efficiency with which she had moved in. He said it with no self-pity, just the flat, tired acknowledgement of a man who understood exactly what he had been to her. She was never there for me, he said. She was there for the version of me she thought I could become. I nodded. I was there for you, the actual you, and you traded that. He had nothing to say about that because it was simply the truth. And truth, when spoken clearly and without cruelty, does not need a response. It just sits in the room until everyone in it finally accepts it.
6 months after the Sunday that broke my life open, I was sitting in a glass-walled boardroom in Victoria Island, presenting a full digital marketing proposal to a panel of 4 executives from one of Lagos's fastest-growing lifestyle brands. I was wearing a navy blue blazer and my favorite gold earrings. Not the white dress. I had retired the white dress. This was a different Sophia. Same gold earrings, completely different ground beneath her feet. I gave the presentation without a single tremor in my voice. Every slide was crisp. Every figure was accurate. Every strategy was backed by real data from the campaigns we had already run. When I finished, the lead executive, a woman in her 50s with natural grey locks and the energy of someone who had built things with her bare hands, looked at me and said, "How long have you been running this agency?" 6 months, I said. She raised her eyebrows slightly. "And you have this level of output in 6 months?" "Yes, ma." She looked at the proposal one more time. Then she looked at me. "We will call you by the end of the week." They called me on Wednesday. They signed the contract on Friday. I called Mrs. Tina from the car park. I could barely speak. "I knew," she said simply. "I knew from the day you walked into my house with that look on your face, and I saw what was underneath it. Strength. Unprocessed and angry, yes, but strength." I drove home and I cooked myself a proper meal for the first time in weeks. Jollof rice, fried plantain, cold juice, and I sat at my own dining table in my own flat that I had built with my own work, and I ate alone, and I was not lonely. Not even slightly. I was full. Genuinely, deeply full. Bibi's story did not end with triumphant. It ended the way these stories always end for people who build their lives by pulling at someone else's foundations. It ended in instability. The man she had left Toby for turned out to be someone whose money was borrowed and whose character was borrowed too. That relationship collapsed publicly and loudly in a way that Lagos did not miss. She lost the job she had been costing in because the senior colleague who had been covering for her got transferred. She was not a bad person deep inside, I believe that, but she had spent so many years measuring herself against other people's lives that she had never built anything solid of her own, and when the borrowed things were returned, there was very little left. She called me once more. I picked up. She did not ask to be friends again. To her credit, she was not that deluded. She just said, "I want you to know that what I did to you was the most shameful thing I have ever done, and I think about it every day." I said, "Bibi, I forgave you a long time ago, but forgiveness is not the same as restoration. I wish you healing, genuinely, but I wish it for you from a distance." She was quiet. "Take care of yourself," I said. And I meant it. As for Toby, he learned his lesson the hard way, the way some lessons can only be learned. We are not together, we are not friends, but we are the kind of civil that 2 decent people can be when they have both grown from pain. He's doing better now, rebuilding. I hear he has a new relationship with a quiet woman from Ibadan who does not wear perfume to casual lunches. Good for him, genuinely. My story is not about them anymore. My story is about the agency that now has 9 clients, 2 full-time employees, and a wait list. It is about the young woman I hired fresh out of school who told me last month that watching me run this company makes her believe she can do it too. It is about the message I got from a stranger online who said she had been watching my business journey on LinkedIn and that I had given her the courage to start her own thing after a terrible heartbreak. That message made me cry. Not the ugly midnight crying of a woman in a parking lot, the warm, grateful crying of a woman who understands that pain with a purpose is one of the most powerful forces on earth. My mother calls me every Sunday now and says the same thing at the end of every call. "Sophia,
God was protecting you, not punishing you. And I believe her. Here is what I want to leave you with, because this story was never just about betrayal. 1. Be careful who you show your blessings to before they are fully formed. Not everyone celebrating you is happy for you. 2. Do not let the betrayal make you bitter and closed. The temptation after this kind of pain is to shut everyone out, to never trust again, to build walls so high that love and opportunity cannot find you. Resist that. Become discerning, not frozen. And finally, what belongs to you cannot be stolen. If this story reached something inside you, share this video with one person who needs to hear it. And if you have not subscribed yet, subscribe today. Every week we tell stories like this.